Hi there, this is our week 15 help video for the spring semester of 2020. And I apologize that I haven't posted any help videos for the last few weeks with all of the changes to the schedule and switching around of deadlines. It's hard to know what content would be the most useful for students when you're all kind of working at different paces. So I apologize for that, but thanks to those of you who've kept in touch with any questions you have via email or my office hours, and I encourage you to keep using those avenues over the next couple of weeks as we wrap things up. But there were a couple things I wanted to talk about as we get close to the end of the semester, and as you decide. This is especially for those of you who are maybe struggling with finishing out all of the content for the course. So I want to call your attention to some information that's available to you in your gradebook. So in the Blackboard gradebook, and remember the Blackboard gradebook is the most complete picture of how you're doing in the class overall. There are two different totals columns. One is a percentage grade, and that's a running percentage of everything, your grade on everything that you've submitted and that I've graded up to this point. So if you have a 90%, it means on everything that you've completed and I've graded so far, you've earned a total of 90% of the possible points on those assignments. Then there's another total column that's like, I can't remember, total points to date or raw points to date is what it's called, and it's just a number. So it should be somewhere in the hundreds. For most of you, it'll be somewhere between probably 400 and 700. Depending on how much of the course you've completed so far. And that's the one that I want you to take a look at this week, especially, again, if you're having to make some decisions and some priorities. So I generally don't advocate skipping any course content or anything like that. But as we all know, this is probably the most abnormal college semester that any of us are going to experience. And so right now, some of what we're having to do is just triage. You're just trying to make sure that you do the best you can with the time that you have available to you and the resources you have available to you right now. And so that might not be ideal. You might not be finishing out the semester the way you started the semester. And so I just wanted to encourage you that there are some options if that's the position that you're in right now. So that raw points column, this course is based on a 1,000-point scale. So there are 1,000 total points in the class. So that means that 700 points is 70% of the overall grade for the class. So once you've passed 700 points, then you have at least a C in the class. Once you pass 800 points, you have a B. Once you pass 900 points, you have an A. So use that as you start, if you're needing to prioritize what assignments you complete, look at the point value, maybe complete some of the ones that are higher point values. And of course, as you go back and look for what you want to complete that's past due, also look at the point values and decide which ones would be worth taking the time on if you can only do a few of them. And your goal is going to be to get to that raw point value that you're shooting for based on the grade that you want. And then another thing that comes into play here is the fact that this semester there are loosened restrictions for taking a pass or no pass option. And there's information about that on the CWI website. But basically what that is usually there are restrictions about how many classes you can take as a pass-fail class, or what this semester they're using as a pass, no pass. So there's not a fail option, just a no pass option. So normally there's restrictions about how many of those you can take in a semester, how many you can take with financial aid, how many can be, or I think usually you can't have any that count toward your degree requirements, unless they're, there's some classes that are part of a degree program that are already pass, no pass classes. So then that would be acceptable. But if you take a class like Spanish 101, you can't take it as a pass, no pass if it counts toward your degree requirements. So, but this semester, because of everything with the pandemic going on, those restrictions have been lifted. So you can take courses that count toward your degree, and you can take those as pass, no pass. you can, your federal aid eligibility isn't affected, and those kinds of restrictions have been lifted this semester. If you do have scholarships, that might be something to look into if it would have any impact on scholarships. And of course, if you have any questions about your individual plan and how it might affect it, I would recommend talking to your advisor about it. But generally speaking, most of you have much more leniency this semester for taking the pass, no pass option. And that's something that you can choose after grades are submitted. So you'll be able to get into my CWI after I post grades later in May, and look at your grade and decide how that grade would affect your GPA, and whether it would be better for your specific situation to take the class as a pass, no pass. So if you do that, then a C or better would go onto your transcript as a pass, just a P, instead of the letter grade that was otherwise reported. If you have a D or an F, then it would go in as an NP instead of that D or F. So again, check the information on the CWI website for the specifics about how it affects your transcripts, your GPA, and how to go about requesting that, as well as the deadlines for requesting that. But it is something to think about if you aren't sure that you'll be able to finish all of the requirements for the class. Consider getting at least to that C level, that's those 700 raw points, and then taking it as a pass, no pass. So then instead of it going in as a C, it'll go in as a P, a pass, and it'll have a different impact on your GPA that way. So those are my tips for those of you who are struggling with getting everything wrapped up for the class, that you might spend some time this week thinking about that, and then making your plan based on going the pass, no pass route. If you feel confident about getting everything done, then definitely keep plowing ahead with that, and let me know if you have any questions. There are a lot of you who are in really good shape to be able to finish out this class and get a good grade that will boost your GPA rather than the opposite. So I hope that's helpful. If you have questions, please let me know. Like I said, I'm still available for my online office hours or email or appointments. So keep plugging away, and I will see you all online.